There's a strange feeling that comes with creating art. Because no matter how much you improve and no matter how many people tell you your work is actually awesome, a part of you will always feel like that success does not belong to you. You fear that maybe one day someone is going to take a closer look and realize you are not as talented as they thought you were. And the strange part is, the more personal your art becomes, the more vulnerable you feel about creating it. So today, I thought this was a very interesting topic to explore with my good friend and fellow artist MK Gibson. We'll talk about imposter syndrome and why so many artists experience it, where it comes from, and whether self-doubt is something we ever truly outgrow, or if it actually is something we need to get better. With all that out of the way, welcome back to another Butcher Shop. And when I came up with the subject for today's episode, I realized that you did another episode on this exact kind of topic for the A&D podcast the other week.
It's all good. It's so it's easy. I can just regurgitate. I was wondering if we should do it's one of those, like, right as we come out of your intro, like we should already be talking, or I should be like halfway through a joke, and then she said, and then oh, we didn't see you there. Kind of like bullshit. Then I realized that's dumb. So, no.
We go back to the meta where we ask each other, hey, how are you? Where we've actually already asked this.
As if we haven't been talking prior to the recording. Yeah, exactly. But this time, though, actually, we were in the middle of hi, how are you? And then Sandy's like, no, we got to start recording this. Otherwise, we want to repeat ourselves. So we're starting over.
Exactly. Yeah, we did. And then you were in the middle of a sentence. I'm basically going to ask you, like, okay, so what were you saying? And I don't even, for the love of me, remember what we were talking about.
Well, let's start. We still got to pretend for the audience. Sandy, how are you? Welcome back from your convention.
How you doing, man? Thank you. Like, I'm exhausted and energized at the same time. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, but I'm in the middle of my convention marathon. I just did 2 full weekends, 2 3-day events. One of them during a very heavy heat wave, and one of them was actually just perfect weather conditions. So I'm a bit all over the place. I slept in this morning, which was very necessary. Nice. But other than that, I'm actually...
I have ADD, so I feel exhausted but energized all the time. Like, every day. You just described my state of being. Like, I have a million... It's like always like being on cocaine. I have a million ideas at any given point, and I only have the energy for 2. And the reality to do 1 so far, then I get lift and shift and try to do another task. And like, hopefully I try to remember what the other cool ideas were when the time comes. So leave notes around the house. Like,
I mean, the fact that you even managed to do 1 is, I applaud that already. Like, there are days where I don't even get to finish 1.
Oh, I didn't say finish. I just said work. Like, I'm always working.
Okay.
It's like,
that's a good detail.
It's kind of like this last bout of ADD, like, productivity was from, like, I knew that, for example, that last convention was coming up, so I wanted to get some covers done. I want to get the layouts done so I could have the new versions of certain books printed and ready to go for that particular convention. So that was kind of like my, it's helpful that that's the goal. That's that's the particular finish line this time to get this work done. And it's great, set yourself goals and standards that way. But man, like, conventions just take it out of me. When I go to a convention, I'm there to work. So, like I said, you're going through a marathon right now of your summertime conventions. I used to have a nice setup, but like last year I took all my time off because we moved, and because we moved, I was still in the throes of, like, wife and kid are at a new school, knew this, knew that, knew everything. So by the time the dust kind of settled, we found a sense of balance. I picked my head up. It was like kind of too late to sign up for conventions already. So I only got to go to 1 this year, and I'm not that worried. It gives me time to write and work and do other stuff, so I can try to, like, tackle 2027 better. But my fellow authors who I shared a table with this time were not prepared for me. They were not prepared for my style of work. They were not prepared for I'm not here to fuck around. I mean, I will talk to people and I will make nice. I will do all this stuff, but I'm here to work. I'm here to sell books and meet nerds and shake hands and get them to know me and my business, because yes, some people believe a rising tide lifts all boats. That's not true at all. And I don't dislike or discredit or discount or anything my fellow authors and artists in the alleyways, but they are my competition, because I love them. I love that we're all here to create and tell wonderful stories and share amazing pieces of art and our soul and representation. But I'm also here to sell it, and I want you to buy mine. So if you buy those people, that's fine. But definitely come buy me. And I'm going to try to get you the best possible book, the best possible story for this kind of thing that you want to hear. But that being said, if I don't have it, I'll point you at someone who does, because clearly I want to, promote my friends. But yeah, I'm there to work.
Both these things are actually something that were very relevant this past weekend, because the first point was the other vendors around you are competition in a way. And that was the first thing we said when we entered the event area. We saw our neighbors, and we had wonderful neighbors. They were all ceramists, so completely different niche. Like they just have completely different wares than we do. We have art and books, but they are really well known, at least here in the country. Like, they have their own fan base. People spend thousands of euros in their booth. And so one of the first things, like, we all collectively said, well, this is going to be interesting, because we know that people spend a lot of money at them. So will they have, any money left to spend at our booth? So that was, again, like you said, like, sure, rising tide lifts all boats. A part of me believes that. On the other hand, yeah, they are your competition, whether or not they are in your niche as well. People can only spend their money once.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a prick about it. I'm not trying to be like a jerk about it, or like they're my enemy, and like no. And I there are other authors out there. And I clearly, I'm friends with many. You're one. Like, I have author friends. It's one of those people that actually get to know what you're like in life, and like they know the same plights and struggles that you're going through. 100% cool. But also, I'm at a convention. Like, you want to stand out. You want your booth to look better. You want your book covers to look better. You want your presentation to look better.
Yeah, you have to play a better game.
Even standing behind the table, how do I look different than the other person? As above average height, but built like a white guy at a convention. Like, how do I stand out from every other like people that are selling whatever book? So little things like.
I mean, when it comes to books, the event was actually really nice, because we were the only booth that sold actual books.
Cool.
And by that I mean there was one other book stand, but he had like public domain books, and then he smacked an AI cover on top of it and then sold it as like a reprint.
Ooh, I've seen those.
Yeah, it was like that. So basically, it kind of became part of our sales pitch. Like, if you want real books,
yeah,
this is where you have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't make any secrets of it. We were pretty open about that.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you, because it is. I've been to many conventions where you'll see exactly that. Someone like took the time to do like take those public domain books and slap a new cover on it. That's like part of again, that is the one aspect is smart, because take old material and put a modern cover on it, and that way it looks fresher to modern eyes, because we do get accustomed to seeing certain things. Whether it could be art styles, it could be just in art book covers.
Yeah, give it some sprayed edges, make the book look really good. Of course.
Right. But when it's obvious AI from a distance,
oh yeah,
it is what it is.
Oh, we mocked the fuck out of this guy.
Well, at the same time, it's like I also can't. There is part of me that respects the hustle, because there are so many people that like are using the products, using the Canva or whatever program, the templates to do the thing, to create the Shopify, Printify, whatever to sell their thing, to hustle. Gig, and I mean, they're doing the same thing we're doing, but with fewer ethics and higher turnaround. Lower overhead, high.
And always, I think what's also very important to remember is that you mock the business person, not like the person. Part of me, my brain goes back to the old meme where you have the two artists go, "What's your name? Tony." Well, fuck you, Tony.
Yeah.
This is 100% what's going on at the conventions. Like, you go, "Fuck you" to your neighbor, but at the same time you love them because they're just nice people.
Yeah. I mean, I look at a lot of the other authors out there who are selling their stuff, and maybe I know them, maybe I don't, maybe I just recognize them from other conventions, maybe I've read their books, maybe I haven't. I don't wish them ill will. I want everybody to be happy. The fact that places like this do support indie authors and mid-tier presses and things like that. It's awesome. It's great. But there is a truth to the consumer has X amount of money they're going to spend, and some people love to just buy books and they never read them. They like put them on their shelf. They have a big the to be read pile, and that's kind of cool. But ultimately, I want people to like enjoy the work that I've done. And I want to share good stories with people. So yeah, if another guy's got the work, that's cool. That said, I still want to, I want to be closer to first in the line than last, if that makes sense, because that is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I hopefully they feel the same way, because that's where that's where competition comes from. You want that, make me better,
I mean, and it goes in a literal way. Like the amount of success for any convention also greatly depends on your literal position, on the premise or premises. What's the word? The location.
Premise. Premise on the premises. yeah.
Because last year we were all the way back of the terrain, and we were really afraid that people were not going to be able to find us. So, which in the first place was the case until we talked to the organization and said, "Hey, like people are not coming here. What can you do to gently push people this way?" And it ended up being a really, really good weekend. And this year, for both of the cons I've done for the last 2 weeks, we were at like top locations. We were right in the middle of like the basically just the general flow of the audience. Like people would come in and they would have this one direction they would go in. We were right along that path. So basically everybody who entered the convention saw us or passed us in some form of way. So yeah, so your location has a lot of influence on the success of your con as much as the fellow vendors around you. Like if you're at a con, and I've had that once before as well, where like 90% of what's being sold is just shit. There's always these 3D printed dragons or AI boots or whatever. Like, and then you're the only one with none of that, and people are getting grumpy because they see the same thing, and the same thing, and even more of the same thing. That doesn't really help your sales either.
It doesn't. Also, like, because I've been in some conventions where I was one of very few authors, like one of like maybe 5 out of all the nerd stuff that's there. And it tells me like, cool, less competition. No, because that means they're not there to buy books. They're there to buy like pixel art and someone else's version of Pikachu or a Nintendo controller or something like that, or a comic. They're not here for books. So, well, I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes it doesn't often work in the favor because, it's a novelty. Someone's like, oh, okay, what book is this? Or something like that. But like, it's places that have a lot of authors, people come there because they like to read. They like to collect books, like to meet authors, like there's that part of storytelling that they enjoy.
Is that how it goes though? Because what I feel, at least here in the Netherlands, that it's very much the other way around. People go where the authors tend to go, but I don't know how thematic those cons in the US are, because here they're super wide. They have books, they have games, they have like, it's all of it together. The only common theme is like, it's fantasy.
Right. So I've been to conventions like that where they have like a theme. It could be like a villains convention. I did that, and I sell villains books, so I did all right. And there were other authors there. Cool. Did great. And they bought some of my other ones too, but I have like, I have literally villains written on some of my titles in my books. So that like, that was fun, did well. Cool. But one of the times when I was with my old publisher, there was it was a nerd convention, but it was also the Eastern Seaboard's regional Smash Brothers tournament, also at the same place. So most of these nerds there were to watch other nerds play Smash Brothers on, like, whether that was like on the like all the different, like the GameCube version, the Switch version, this version, like, and like they were actually like, it was like a super grand tournament. Like the most of the thousands of nerds that showed up were there for Smash Brothers. And they were not really there for other things. So, we were one booth of a few of booksellers, and that was not, we sold some books, but I'm fortunate that I lived close. So I could drive down. I didn't have to like stay there, because selling a few books, cool. I got a few more books sold, a few more fans made, cool. A couple bucks in my pocket. It would have been a waste of time and money if I had to like, stay there at a hotel and eat and live for the next 3 days, as opposed to like I could just drive down from my home, sell books, and drive home at night and just pack a sandwich, Yeah.
So, or I prefer the cons where you can sleep inside the booth. So basically you're just camping.
Yeah. I've never been to one of those.
They're actually kind of fun because, what, you turn the con also in some sort of short vacation. It's just, you're camping overnight, and it's It really adds to the atmosphere as well because you just you sleep with your wares, and it does
Oh, you
something.
European lovely people! Like there is no planet where I would want to sleep out in the open near my books, like behind not behind a locked door. At some of these conventions, like
Oh,
no, thank you, ma'am. Oh no.
but because of people potentially coming into the tent and like stealing shit, or just open air, or
No, well, I just I'm not gonna speak for all Americans, but I'm gonna say that uh, there's garbage everywhere and shitty people doing shitty things for a reason, and even though the people that might come to the convention might be cool, there's other people who are usually staying at the hotel that don't give a shit about your convention,
no, but
I'm
that's okay. But that's conventions. That's like hotel conventions. But I mean like Ren fairs, like open air events. Because I don't do the hotel conventions.
I see. I prefer hotel convention because there's a level of security. I haven't done I have not done an open air thing like that where you stay out and then who knows? I probably won't.
They're cool though. No, I mean I certainly appreciate them. It's just I don't know. There's something about open air. Like I don't like. Okay, I need to rephrase this before I say I don't like them at all. I like open air conventions better than I like the like closed alley things. Like we have a few of those here in the Netherlands. Some of them are actually I sell really well during those, so I don't hate them at all. But there's just something about like open air rent fairs that just changes the atmosphere, both among the vendors and among the visitors. So I don't know. I really prefer those
No,
over.
I understand the concept of what you're getting at because like obviously there's a Ren Fair is a Ren Fair here and there's like there's merchants like that, but we also have plenty of some people have like these over the 4th of July weekend, a perfect example, right down the road from my house, unbeknownst to me because we just moved here. There's this one road that it's a mile and this entire stretch of about a mile and a half is yard sales. People turn this entire stretch of road and their homes into a yard sale alley, and once you reach the open field, it is just an open field of tents and pavilions of like just of just a kitschy junk sell giveaway sort of thing. And I get the appeal to that. I won't do it because it's hot as shit and walking
Oh,
around
that's
and
true.
everybody looks every husband looks miserable. I'll give it that. I'm going to be extra sexist on this, but because I'm stuck. I was on my way driving to the gym and I'm like, what is all the, oh frick, I forgot about this. So I'm looking, there's always people with these carts that they look to go buy all this extra junk and other people's junk and they're looking excited. But by people, I mean all these wives and girlfriends, but every dude looks just like miserable. Like it's hot as shit. Why am I doing this? We have junk at home. Why do I want to look at other people's junk?
Yeah, why do I need more junk? Well, because it's cheap. That's why you want more junk. No.
That's not
Yeah,
about-
okay. I mean, so by way of setup, I guess you could compare that. It's just an open field with a lot of these like medieval tents pitched up. But of course, in terms of content, it's completely different. Like these conventions here are very thematic in terms of you have these ceramists, you have dice makers, you have jewelry makers, you have witches, you have artists obviously and authors. There's people who sell clothes like thematic clothes, the harem trousers or long dresses, all that kind of stuff. So it's all very it's a big variety of different types of vendors. At the same time, they are all bound together by this like fantasy theme. So when you put that into the open air, there's just instant atmosphere. And when you put them into like these giant convention halls, they're fun, but the atmosphere is just different, obviously. But at the same time, as a vendor, I mean, when you're indoors, you don't have any weather conditions you need to prep for because I've done many outdoor cons where my car was just packed with plastic like sheets and stuff to prepare for rain. When it comes down, you want your stuff to be all right. So there's pros and cons to both of them, I guess.
I'm not gonna say no to one of those type of things. If one presents itself, then sure, I might give it a shot. Who knows? Most of the conventions I go to, because people, I guess the experience I'm accustomed to is like a lot of times there's these hotel conventions or convention hall type places as well. It doesn't have to be a hotel. Something, but I've been to a few like they have like just convention spaces that people just rent out, and those are, a different kind of beast altogether as well. But people they're coming there for this purpose. It's been advertised, it's promoted, it's ongoing, it's whatever. You got a slot, and then you come in and now the downside to it is, again, like any convention person, like you mentioned in the beginning in your intro, is when someone's like, "What's it like being on the other side of the table?" Well, I always get like raging anxiety when I'm around that many people in a location to begin with. I used to love going to like, music concerts like that. But then as I got older, I'm like, I don't like dealing with people. So me being on that side of the table I feel more safe, more comfortable, more I can deal with this because I got a table between me and the crowd. But it's also incredibly depressing because if person after person after person after person after person walks by you, like not just usually the kind of yeah, the little head up kind of look, and then keeps on going. Yeah, that's nice. Keep on walking, And I always joke with it. It feels like you are the puppy or the kitten at the adoption place who's getting older by the minute that no one wants because you're not cute anymore. So there is an element to that. So if you are not good at Gab, if you are not good at like the PT Barnum, ladies and gentlemen, step right up. Look over here. These books, the books that ever booked book. If you're not good at that, you're in for a rough time.
Oh,
You're in for a rough
100%. Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I am not necessarily a people's person. Like, I can tolerate people, sure, and I can, but I appreciate like just my alone time just as much. But when I go into Sandy Butcher's mode, when I'm at a convention, I switch, I flip the switch, and I become business person Sandy Butchers. I talk to people, I laugh with people, and I tell you what, like it is all genuine. Like I would be I cannot imagine myself say, well, I have it at home as well. It actually is rather good, and you should have it too because it's an amazing price, and I'll make it an even better price. Like I'm not that kind of person. I will talk to people, and I'll be sincere in what I tell them. I will talk about my work. I will talk about why I work, the way I do, and where these stories come from. I will have, if not the most genuine conversations, I will have with people. But I will also have in mind that at the end of the day, you are there to do business. And I think there are people that are too good at doing business and they become pushy. And I also think there are people who simply do not know how to speak to people. When people start whispering against, towards the people at your table, you need to speak up.
Okay.
You need to speak louder. You need to be present.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's also this level of like, it's a quid pro quo, like, you give, you get kind of thing. So you give energy, hopefully you get energy, but there's some people who don't respond to that. There's some people more extroverted that are just, they want to ask questions, but they're not sure. Or if you come across with high energy and they're like, yeah, I don't want to scare that meek, that nerd away. But so I try to be as empathetic as possible per person. It's not a one size fits all shop. I try to be, honestly, I try to match the energy of the person that's coming at me. If I see somebody who's walking by has a kind of like a curious look, but a sense of like, I don't like loud noises, then I'll say, or one of those like, hi, what do you like? And it's like, well, what do you like to read? Like if I don't have it, I can help point you in the direction that you're looking for. And I try to say it in a nice, calming and reassuring tone as possible. And that usually it's usually opens them to like, well, I kind of like this and this or that or that. Or, I always say things like, what do you like to read? But don't say anything. What's your catnip? What's your particular thing? And I'll offer up. I like heaven and hell books. Something like if I see angels and demons, I can have a hard time saying no to that. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this, and it's like, all right, well, I don't have something like that. This is the closest thing I have. However, I do know that so and so and so and so over there and there have this kind of thing. And I try to create at least that established rapport. But it's not just a business aspect. I'm literally just trying to get this person the best story possible. But also at the same time, they'll know me, so they come back more times than not. They will come back and say, well, what about this book here of yours? I'm like, okay, because the cover's caught their attention. I'll explain it to you. You can read the back, however you see fit. And sometimes more often than not, it works out.
I think it's really important to like measure the person. Like greeting them is like 90% of the work. If you greet them, you get nothing, or you get like this very awkward hi, then you just know, like, shut your mouth, keep your mouth shut. They will if they want something, they will come to you. They will ask you something. But if they come like, hey, how you doing? And you get a conversation immediately, you can talk to these people. And then 9 out of 10 times when you can talk to a person, you can talk about your work, and they've in some form or way find it fascinating, and you're just that much closer to, actually having someone go home with your work. And it always sounds so weird, as if it's like formalized or something. Like there is no winning formula. There is no guarantee that if you can speak to a person, you can sell him a product. There's no way. But I think just looking at my experience so far, like I've done, I think at this point, close to 100 cons. I think I can say that, you get the sort of hang in reading people. Like, are people interested? Are people coming in because they're interested in what they saw at first glance? Do they want to browse? Are they like running into the booth like, oh my god, you got stickers, or oh my god, that print? Like, you can like immediately tell. And I guess it's the same with books. Like, if they,
right.
you can tell if they're triggered by the cover. If the cover pulls them in, you can talk to them, and I think it's just one step closer to, having another reader.
1,000%, and I can usually tell who's intrigued by the cover, which is good. It means we did our job as cover artists to get that thing to a place where, like, this is getting the attention. Like the last Technomancer covers have really they've done their work. The work I put into them has come through, and I'm very happy about that. But that's also me studying, again, no disrespect to fellow authors, the amount of black covers I see, and I wanted these gray white ones to stand out in opposition to all the black covers, because I see all these black covers and Cinzel fonts and blah blah blah, and I'm like, so let's do something that doesn't look like everything else, And there will come a time, a couple of years, where I have to switch again, because people will something will change, and they'll, like, everybody will start adopting a new way of doing things. And so what's 80% the same and 20% different?
I don't know.
So.
I think I've seen one photo of you presenting at a table from a couple of years ago, and you had some height differences, you had some display stuff, but how do you generally go about your display work?
So I would like to adopt more the way that you do yours, with, things like, just like a wooden crate, a nice layout. Honestly, like as if you're setting up like an honest to God display, like a terrarium, a display, a diorama of your work. The problem is, at least with books, if you have volume of books, if you don't have space under the table to store said books, then you can't really set up, like, say, one or two books and then like grab a fresh stock from underneath. So you have to kind of like go. It's always case by case. If I have a 6-foot table, great. But is it 6 foot by 12 inches, or is it a wider table? Because what's my depth width height ratio? And so it's always case by. I just do my best to make it look as appealing as possible. I don't like using racks unless I can help it, because racks look like racks. They look like a vendor's rack on purpose, and it's just things get lost in the shuffle. Like having most books down like a column with a stand on top of a book and at different heights, that gives this almost asymmetric feel. But as long as the composition as a whole is appealing from a distance, that brings in eyes. And like usually even like what color book where to help create. I mean, there's natural art things like what.
Basically, you're making a composition of a painting.
Yes, and some people don't get that. And that's fine. They don't have to, which is good for me.
This is true. I will be the last person to deny that.
Again, not to be a jerk about it, but it's like, you learn as you go. There are things I did not know in the beginning that I learned over the years, and I'm constantly learning. So it's, again, even how a book, once you pick it up, what does it feel like? What does it look like? Glossy or matte? It really depends on what the cover happens to be, because sometimes matte is the better. Sometimes glossy is the better. But when you open it up, are there page numbers? Is the spacing too spaced out between even just the paper? Like when you pick it, like what kind of paper is it? Is it when you look inside of the book, someone picks it up and looks at it, is it double spaced all the way through? Well, it shouldn't be, because that looks like
your
children's typewriter book.
That's draft.
Yeah, that's your draft. That's not
That's
print.
exactly.
And I see a lot of print books that are double spaced. I'm like,
really?
So
Ew.
yeah, and oh god, yeah, more than you realize, or even time and a half. Like it is. Ooh, it's still kind of nasty at time and a half. So like, and America, for whatever reason, still is enjoying the 6x9 paperbacks, but I've been pushing towards a smaller 5x8 or 5.25x8. Like that's getting closer to that old mass market paperback feel we loved as kids. Is like those the Dragonlance books, and there are other up and coming publishers and bigger publishers are starting to work in that same space now as well. So I'm trying to move away from the 6x9. It's like anything else. You have to study the trends so you can work with them and, again, stand out against them.
I think in this case, it's not even about a trend. I think it's golden ratio. Like the thickness of the spine has to be in a certain ratio to the rest of the book. And I think these 6/9 books are just too large, and the book becomes too thin because of that. And it's just ugly. It's not appealing.
It does. Well, it becomes, even some of the bigger, thicker ones, again, I don't need a giant book of like a poetry or an omnibus looking type of thing. Again, it is like you said, there's a golden ratio. It also, how does the product just look? But that said, you also have like, you want some level of consistency. Like if you tend to write, 100,000 word books, 30 chapters, let's say 30 chapters, 3,000 words a book, 90,000 plus or minus the things like, so around the same number, they're going to have the same rough look, give or take. So you can work within that visual style over and over and over. And it helps in conventions because, the work is the work, and I love the work, and I love meeting people. I don't know about you, but by the end of the day, my head's buzzing, my head hurts, my throat hurts. I'm starving. I might have eaten. I just burned through wasted calories just being a nervous chihuahua trying to.
I always feel like I come home fat.
Oh, well, no, not me. I'm the opposite because I forget to eat, or I have like, I have a small breakfast, a pocket-sized lunch, and then maybe a dinner, and then.
Now, you know what? I greatly lean on the support of the vendors I share the tent with, because we all kind of take care of each other. Like, especially during the heat wave, like last week, where we constantly said to each other, "Did you drink enough? Did you finish that bottle already?" So we really try to take care of each other, and we constantly hand out food. Like, hey, you want a snack? You want this? So we buy buckets of olives and we hand out olives. So or we have like these salty snacker.
If you hand me an olive, we're not friends.
Nice.
I'm just letting you know.
You know what? When it's really hot outside and you need some extra salt, you want to have like the.
Oh, I'm gonna vomit.
No, dude.
Done with that.
And then in the evening, you have these like soft these cloves of garlic that are like all.
What the fuck, man? Were you afraid of werewolves? Or
mosquitoes.
Like vampires? What kind of backwards third world medieval bullshit is this? Olives and garlic. Oh boy.
No, there's this way where it's like sweet. I don't know how to explain this, man. It's like pickled garlic.
Jeez, you're not helping the case here.
Okay, fine, I'll stop it.
Like, this is getting grosser the more you speak.
Alright, I'll stop it. Okay, anyway, we take care of each other, so I'm
sure there's someone like this dumb American. Fuck that guy.
These fucking people over there. Oh my god.
This fucking guy.
You go grab yourself another, like king-size menu somewhere and a Diet Coke. Yeah, go for it. But no, so
sure, let's go with that.
You know what? I really felt like eating fries today. We didn't. But I ate soup for 3 days, and it was really good soup, by the way. But then at the end, you kind of crave for something, I don't know, greasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no. Generally, I do not come home with a headache or like sore throats or whatever. I mean, you can obviously tell that my voice is a little bit more husky than it normally is, because I've been talking for 3 days.
Oh, at the end of my voice is hammered. It is. I sound like a bad Bill Waits impression by the end of the weekend, like or Tom Waits, excuse me, and like get that raspy, get that voice. I'm gonna start singing about like heartache, depression, and drugs.
God's over your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, no. So I'm not like that. I am, however, tired as fuck. And this might actually be my age as well at this point. Like, I'm 37. When I come back, I need to recuperate for at least a day. I need to sleep in the next day, so I'll take a day off work. I need to sleep in. I need to just spend some time alone in silence, fill up the bathtub, be nice to myself, just chill, just relax. And then, next day is go time again. Because tomorrow, like, my job starts again. So... But yeah, I have learned to appreciate the time to just chill down after a con, whereas I used to just roll into a con, roll out of the con, go straight into my day job. I cannot do that anymore. Yeah.
I don't do that anymore, and unfortunately, I'm in a position where I don't have to. So if it's within my purview, it's like I will, let's say it's Friday through Sunday is the convention, I will drive down on Thursday. I will, if it's within driving distance. I have about an 8-hour rule. Like, I can get, if I can 8 hours any direction of me, I will try to, if I can get there, I'll do it. But so I'll drive there. I will relax in the evening and then work. And then Sunday, I won't leave until Monday morning because I will after the convention's over, I pack up, but like, I will just enjoy my time at the hotel or wherever, talk to people, have a drink, shoot the shit, and then try to drive out on Monday. And like, it's kind of like my cleansing ritual. Like, the drive down is the preparation, the drive out is the cleansing ritual. Like, listen to podcasts, listen to music, listen to audiobooks, whatever. And I don't mind long drives because my time in the military, see, way back when, before we had things like GPS, we had these things called maps. and you just had to like learn to read a map in the 90s. So to get across the country, like
know where the fuck you are.
exactly, this is like, you had to read a map and get from like point A to point B, and some states like Texas are from one side to the other is about 16 hours of driving, just driving straight from one end to the other.
Yeah, it's about 20 times the side of my own country. Yeah.
Right. So, it's so when you're driving from like the middle of Texas back to Maryland and knowing that's like, it's a couple days trip, and you're like, where do you stop? I don't know. I'll stop at a motel somewhere, and just figure it out. Like when I get after about 500 miles or 8 hours, you get tired and you just stop somewhere,
I part of me is just chuckling because I had to drive for 2 hours this weekend and I was exhausted. I literally drove to like the far end of the country and I was like, oh my God, it's such a long drive. It's 2 hours. 2 fucking hours.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos. Like my granddad was a truck driver, so I come from like truck driving stock. So like the ability to sit and stare in the road ahead and it's just part of who I am. I don't mind it. I like it. It gives me time with my thoughts. It gives me time to like sing badly. It gives me time to like just think.
Oh, I do that. Like I sing badly all the time. Like I had Grease Lightning. I had fucking Tom Jones. I had it all. Like And I enjoy that. But after 2 hours, I'm bored. I need to just arrive at my destination and do something else. Yeah. And it's wild to me that, the idea of, you just said like I have a maximum of like 8 hours. Dude, 8 hours gets me to the far side of Germany.
Right.
I've never done a con outside. Oh, that's actually a lie. I did one con in Belgium once. It was the worst con of my life. That con cost me about 700 euros. Ooh. I made a loss of $700. Yeah, that was not pretty.
No, that sounds horrible.
And the funny thing is that, yeah, people kept telling me like, yeah, no, but this is really one of those cons where you have to be there for like 2-3 times before people start recognizing you. And then because they start knowing you, they'll start spending money with you. And I'm like, I'm not going to invest fucking, 2,000 euros in order for people to get to know me. Like, fuck off. They can get to know me on Instagram. They can get to know me on my website. There are many ways they can get to know me. I'm not going to pay money for that. I'm sorry.
Well, that leads to like another part that you had mentioned earlier about like in your intro, can you make a living at cons? And I'm going to be very blunt. Most people can't. You don't. Cons are not about, it'd be great if you make money, and if you happen to, cool. If you happen to have a product that people actually want, then fantastic. If you go from con to con to con and people make fat loot, great.
Or when you're actually famous, then yeah, sure. Like,
yeah,
I could understand like people like Inkwell, they
sure.
do fantastic.
Yeah.
He's super transparent about what he makes, and then he gives these numbers like I made $64,000 during the con. I'm like $64,000. What the fuck? And then he's like, well, but like,
I'd punch my own son for $64,000. I'd lay into him too. No, it's a joke.
I would sell my grandma for that. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and so apparently it is possible, but you got to have some sort of weight, tied to your name, I guess, in order to get there. Like okay, last con, I'll be very transparent for a minute here as well. My previous con, so basically I got home from that yesterday. I set a new record, which was a little over 1,400 euros, which to me is a boatload of money. And especially now that recently I've decided that starting in January, I'm going to work a little bit less. Like I'm going to work 3 days for my boss. And then I have 4 days a week. So basically no weekends, but I have 4 days a week to work on my art stuff and my books and all that kind of stuff. So this is the first time in my life where I'm actually flipping the balance from, working for myself more than I work for a boss. And I'm excited about that. I'm also scared to death about that. But it basically means that I have to substitute a loss of 800 euros per month that I'll be missing in my salary. So on average, I will have to earn about 800 euros per month through my art and books and everything. And when I say it like that, like 800 euros, I can make that at a convention. Like on average, yeah, I'll get there. But I don't have cons every month. So how am I going to fill those gaps?
And how was it in the beginning when you started? Were you making 800 euros right off the bat?
Oh God, no, dude.
Exactly. Again, that's the things like I think this is part of the information. So folks who wanted to like do a timestamp thing, you jump to this part. When I first started selling books, I had one book. I was selling my publisher. I was still at my publisher's table, and like whatever amount of books I sold, I got to keep that money. That he didn't care about that, kind of thing. We didn't have to split the profits on that particular thing because I was with my publisher, but this was my book. This was my one book. But, and as things went on, I got one book, two book, three book, four book, and you're trying, but again, like some people are like, all right, cool. But this is like, however many series, how many books in the series, they're not going to buy books 2, 3, 4, or 5. And they might buy 1, 2, maybe 3. Few people are going to buy all, like say if you have a 5-book series, they might not buy all 5, or if you have 5 of an ongoing series, they might buy books 1 and 2 just to see if they like it. So bringing books 3, 4, 5, 6 doesn't really help you, other than to put it up on the table to let them know there's more out there. So it gives that a feeling of like there's a world to explore. But you end up, like, for a lot of folks, it's just, do you just make your table back? Because it maybe cost you $100, $150 to just have that space, and then it's going to cost you, if you're staying at the hotel, $200 a night, $300 a night, 3 nights, or 250, 150. Let's say some hotels $150 a night. Again, 3 nights. $450 plus a table, $500, $600. Did you make back that and the food, and did you break even there? And then what's on the plus side? And that gets harder and harder and harder. Cause again, when these things have like 50 authors, great. Does every author make $1,000,
yeah.
make $500, no. Or how much did it cost them to drive there? How much did it cost them to print them? How much cost?
I do think that here in the Netherlands, the cons are, obviously this is a tiny country, so most of the times you can basically drive home after a con. So you don't necessarily have to pay for a hotel. You can just, bring your own lunch package. You can make it as cheap as you like. So depending on the cost of the con, I think your costs are anywhere between $300 and $400 that you need to like make back,
which would be great on average. But I unfortunately, like, most of the conventions, like I've been lucky to there's been 1 or 2 near my house, and that's cool, but most aren't. And, and the ones that are still, like, let's say, because I live in Maryland, let's say the Baltimore or DC conventions, which I hate both cities. No offense to Baltimore or DC people, but like I hate driving into the city because it's a pain in the ass. If you're not from there, where to park, where to be, how to get there. But both are between 45 minutes and an hour away from where I live in my relatively small state. So that's just driving there, let alone parking, hauling stuff in, and all those other things. And once you're there, then you can drive home that night. But then now it's an hour drive home every night. Okay, and then you drive back out in the morning. Like your level for bullshittery tolerance like gets smaller and smaller as that time goes. So like, it's easier to stay at the place, but that again does the cost. I know plenty of authors who, like, for them, con season is their vacation season. Instead of going on vacation, they save up for con season basically to offset that cost. Which sucks because a lot of them don't make their money back, or they break even, or they sell a few more books and they get a few more people that follow them, and they do it for the love of their art or their craft. And it's not just, again, I say authors, but I mean, obviously, I've worked next to certain artists. I've done other things as well. Sometimes it's craft. Sometimes it's like art. Sometimes it's books. Sometimes it's whatever. And the people that tend to make the most there are the smallest, like, the people that make the pixel art, like there's little jewel things you kind of glue together to make it like, a digitized Pikachu. Like, they sit there and make those all day long while they're watching TV during the year, and then they sell them. It costs them very little, and they sell well, kind of thing.
What's an immediate turnoff for you when you're at a con? What when you see a booth, like, what immediately just makes you turn the other way?
Okay, well, see, the first turn off of the con is a smell. Like if I
yes,
it is. It's called deodorant, people. I know not everybody approves of it, and certain people don't like certain aluminums, but there are a lot of natural ones and native ones, and you can take care of your smell. So remember, you're in public spaces with other people, so don't go crazy with the perfumes or like that. But let's just try not to be odoriferous.
That was kind of a challenge during the heat wave. Like, everybody knew we were smelly and sweaty, and I think we just reached a general collective consensus that we were all going to smell bad this weekend, and we were going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, generally I agree with you.
I'm trying to think, what's a turnoff? Like, I don't know what a turnoff would happen to be. Like,
the easiest example would be, if I see a booth with AI art, I'll just walk by. I will not even.
Sure.
It's like the easiest example. Or I also I completely I just walk past 3D print shit.
Yeah. Some of the 3D print shit I don't mind, because again, someone's trying to do something, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, when it's their own design, like when
yeah,
people,
but even,
so,
I'm tracking it, but they're not. It's not. It's their own version of a Funko Pop. Yeah.
Well, some of them are. You you got these people with like dice towers, and I know there's like plenty of people who design these dice towers all by themselves. Like they make the 3D models, they print them. I appreciate that I will actually take time to look at this shit because I know how difficult it is to do 3D modeling in the first place. But when I see this booth filled with like these weird like jiggly little dragons or dragon eggs that pop open and they have a little tiny dragon inside, like I just no, thank you.
No, see, again, that's not it's not a turn off for me because I come from a gaming background, but also I don't want it either. Like the problem is, as I gotten older, I don't really want things. So it's like I used to like, for example, I would love the booth that has basically their old vintage paperbacks, like and cool. I would spend so much time in those booths looking at the paperbacks, see if there's something I'd find that I don't have, and I've got the books I want, like at least the old paperbacks. Like once in a while, I'll be surprised. They don't turn me off. They don't pull me in either. I'm not a big fan of like, again, this is no problem. I'm not like the booths that have like all like the board game stuff, but I'm not a board game person. So I tend to like just gloss by those, but again, no disrespect. I think my biggest ick is when I come by an authorial table that the covers are just really bad, not offensive, but like I've seen this stock art on 4 other books already. And the really bad fonts and
this cover was made in Canva. Yes. Exactly.
But again, I'm not being shitty on Canva because I appreciate that Canva is like when they bought out Affinity and they basically say, hey, here is a professional grade level Photoshop, InDesign and vector art program all in one for free. We bought Affinity. It's now free for everybody. It's just called Affinity and you can just download it and you can do anything in there that you can do on these other programs. And it is freaking amazing. But they also have like their AI asset they want you to buy, like to do a premium thing with Canva itself to have like a subscription.
And you have a super limited amount of things that you can do with your assets and even like your design options, layer effects. It's non-existent.
Right. Yeah. But the actual programs to manipulate said assets are free. And if you have your own assets and know how to work the programs, like if you could work Photoshop, then you can work Affinity image. Like these are, so we took something that was great and made it free. Same thing with Krita. I love that program. These people is like, here's a free art program that is built by people for artists. And it is free as all day long. And I love that too. So when I see some of these covers that looks like you didn't know what you were doing, or you got someone who said they knew what they're doing and clearly didn't know. And I have a heart, like I will pick it up once in a while. Once in a while, I'll pick up one of these covers and see what's going on, and maybe the description on the back will like wow me, or maybe something like that. And sometimes I'll say, hey, I do cover design work on the side. Would you like some tips or my card or something like that? Not to be a jerk about it, but like, this could be better.
Yeah. So basically just poor quality products.
That's an ick for me, but or someone just clearly manipulating the system for their benefits. Again, again, the fancy cover on the public domain book, I can get that public domain book anywhere. Why should I get it from you? And it's, especially when they're selling it next to their own books, that when I'm like, oh man, like Dracula and my book, like it's like, here's a copy of Frankenstein. And also that time I fucked Dracula, a self-story, whatever, some dumb shit, I don't.
Yeah, that's not a no for me. Also, and this is not necessarily like a turn off for me, but part of me always has a sort of pity when you can tell by the booth that it's a starting artist. And I kind of want to just walk in and give them all the tips. Like, for example, when it's a really dark alley and they have no light and they are just a black hole inside a completely lit up vending area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to walk in like, hey, next time you want to bring some light, or because it's such a shame when people can't see your work. And like part of me really wants to just help people out, but at the same time I also realize that it's not my place to just immediately walk in and start telling people what to do, because
no, it's presumptuous,
exactly. Yeah.
And
but maybe we should check in with the audience to see what's a turnoff for them. Like, what do they really like about conventions and what do they really hate about conventions? Because I think we're
we're getting long on the tooth there. Yeah, we're at the 50-minute mark. So yeah.
Exactly. What do you like? What don't you like about conventions? Drop that in the comments and let us know what you really think about this. What do we want to add, Gib?
I do want to add one quick thing, which is, it's a simple thing, which is, hey folks, when you're at a convention, remember the person that you're talking to behind the table is there doing a job. They are talking to you. They're being polite to you. You know, you're listening to your story. You're talking to them. You're having this great back and forth. Also, they do want to make a sale. So if you know you're not going to make the sale, step aside. You don't have to stop talking, but step to the side if you don't mind, because that way it shows other people like you are not. I've had plenty of people look curious but walk by because someone's talking to me, and some people are chattier than I am and they want to talk for about half an hour and not buy something. And that
some people share their life
Yes.
stories. Yeah.
And hey, listen, we all got our different levels of quirk. We got our different levels of like sociability, clearly, even levels of like, where are you at on the neurospicy level? And that's cool. We all got our different places. But if you know you're not going to buy something, just move to the side. You don't have to stop talking. You don't have to go away. If we're having a lovely conversation, I will continue my lovely conversation, but please don't block the move from other people. And, because we are here to do a job, and it sucks that I can't, it feels transactional, but like after the convention's over, find us, we'll have a drink and we'll shoot the shit. Not a problem. And I had many conversations like that, but this is just a friendly please. So,
you know what? This is the wisdom we should end the episode with.
I'm good with that. So.
Thanks for adding that. That was actually really a good point. And thank you all for listening. If you haven't followed us yet, either on YouTube or on Spotify.
The fuck's wrong with you? No.
Exactly. What the fuck is wrong with you? And second of all, please make use of this perfect opportunity to hit that like and subscribe button and drop some comments, because comments love the algorithm and the algorithm love comments. I'm getting way too long-winded here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys in the next one. Thanks, Gib.
No problem, dude. Bye, everybody.